Hello, I'm Dan, and I like to program. Let's get into this week's problem. So, given a Roman numeral, convert it to an integer. And we have a little table right here. I is equal to 1, v is equal to 5, x is equal to 10, l is equal to 50, c is equal to 100, d is equal to 500, and m is equal to 1000. And so if we go through the examples we have right here, L, V, I, this example should return 58 because L is 50, V is 5, and I, they're each one, so it would be 50 plus 5 plus 3, which would be 58. This second example is a little trickier. It would be LIV. Whenever you have a Roman numeral that's smaller than the next one, you will subtract. So since I is equal to 1, and then V is equal to 5, since 5 is greater than 1, that means we subtract, and this would become 4. So L, which was 50, and then I, which is 1, and then 5, or V, which is 5, would become 50 plus 4, which means it would be 54. And then in this third example, this one's a long one, we have M, which is equal to 1000. Then we have C, which is equal to 100. And then we have M, which is equal to 1000. And since C was less than M, we would take M minus C, which would be 1000 minus 100, which would be 900. So now we have 1900. And then we have X, which is 10. And then we have C, which is 100. And since C is greater than X, it would be 100 minus 10, which is 90. And then we would have I and V, and the same thing here. V is greater than I, so it's 5 minus 1, and it'd be 4. So altogether, we would have 1000 plus 900 plus 90 plus 4, which would be 1994. Let's get into IntelliJ. Alrighty, we're in IntelliJ now, and I've already gotten started. We have a couple imports here. We're going to use the Java util map and the Java util hash map imports. And then I have the class already. It's Roman to integer. And then we have a method here which will do our conversion for us. And then it'll also take a string parameter. This will be the Roman numeral, and I've named it Roman num to make it easy to find throughout the method. Then I also have the standard test down here. You could do much more thorough testing, but we're going to keep it short. So to get started, we're going to make a map variable. Static map string integer values equal to new hash map. And so a map, it's very similar to a dictionary. It's basically a dictionary. If you've ever worked with dictionaries in Python, pretty much the same thing. So to fill a map, we are going to say static. Now we're going to have a curly brace, and then we're going to say values dot put. Then we're going to put our table in here. So for every Roman numeral that had a value in our previous table, we're going to add that here. So M is going to be 1000 like we had, and then we're going to do the same for the rest. And I already have them right here, so I'm just going to copy and paste it. It would be very tedious to go through each one individually. And now we're going to get into the method, fun part. So we're going to start out with a variable called sum. This is going to hold just our sum as we go through the Roman numerals. And then, let's see, then we're going to have a variable called I, and we're going to be using a while loop, so this is going to be our increment as we go through to make sure that we're not going past the end of the list, I mean. And then we're going to start out with our while loop. We're going to say while I is less than Roman num dot length, we are going to keep looping. And inside we're going to say string current symbol is equal to Roman num dot substring. So we're going to take each individual section of the string, and so just like each character of the string, and we're going to save it so that we can reference it later. So Roman num substring, we're going to say to do this, we're going to say we're going to go from I to I plus 1. So it would be I plus 1. And remember, substring is non-inclusive of the last piece, so the substring would just be one character from the string. So if, let's say we had I, and I was equal to 0, and then I plus 1 would be equal to 1, we would say we want to go from 0 to 1, and it would only give us the first character in that substring. And we'll move on. Int current value is equal to values. This is how we get something from the dictionary, or not the dictionary, the map, the hash map. We would say values dot get, and then we would tell it what our symbol is. And so in this case, we just got our current symbol, and it's named current symbol. And then we go int next value, and we would set this equal to 0, because if there is no next value and we try to reference it later, then that's a problem. Then we go to if, and this is where we get into the logic. It's actually pretty simple. We're going to say if I plus 1 is greater than, not greater than, less than Roman num dot length, then we're going to basically assign a value to next value. So string the next symbol is equal to Roman num. We're going to do a substring just like we just did, dot substring. And instead of I in that to I plus 1, we're going to do I plus 1 to I plus 2. So it would be I plus 1. And then it would be I plus 2. And this would, so if we had a string of 3 things and I was equal to 0, so it would be 1 in the first index to the second index, so that would be from here to here, and it would just give us this one in the middle. Then we go on, so we have our next symbol, and then we want the next value, and the next value would be equal to the same thing we did earlier, values.get, and then we would give it the next symbol, and that would reference our hash map over here and give us the value of that next symbol. So if the symbol was M right here, and we did get M, it would return 1000. Moving on, we have another if statement. We just love if statements here. So this is where we check to see if the current value is less than the next value. And then if it is less than the next value, that means we are going to say sum plus equals next value minus current value. And then this is where we increment I. So you're going to say we increment I by 1, right? No, since we used both the next value and the current value in the calculation of our sum. Let's say we had like an IV, like we do right here in the second example. Since we used both of these to calculate that we needed to add 4, we just use 2 characters in the string, and so we're going to increment by 2, not by 1. And then we have one more if statement, and we're going to say if the, no, we don't have another if statement, we have an else. Okay. So if it's not less than the next value, then that means it's just that value that we had. So we're going to say sum plus equals current value. And then we're going to say I plus equals 1. So in this case, we only use the current value. We only used one section of the string. And so we just increment I by 1 because we're going to use the next section next time. And so this is just about it. We're going to actually return sum, not 1, or else everything would just be 1. This is just about it. So we're going to test it, but let's go through the code one more time. So let's go through with an example, actually. Let's go through with this big, long one. Actually, let's go through with this tiny one, then with the long one. So if the Roman numeral was I, we would say is I less than Roman numeral dot length? Yes, it is. It's 0. We're starting the loop. We would say the current symbol is equal to the first item because 0 to 1 would be this first I. And then we would say the current value would be, what's I? I is equal to 1. So the current value would be 1. Next value is 0. If the I plus 1 is less than Roman numeral dot length, which it is, 2 is less than 3, we will then say, or no, it would be 1. 1 is less than 3. We would say string next symbol is Roman numeral substring I plus 1, I plus, until I plus 2, which would be the second one. And then we would get its value, which is also 1. The current value is not less than next value. Then we would say sum is plus equal the current value, which would just be 1. And then we increment, go through the same thing. The current symbol is now this middle I. And then we say the next symbol is this third I. And the next value is the value of I, which is 1. And then the current value, also 1 up here. And we say current value is not less than next value. Go on, sum plus equal current value. Now we have 2. And then we go on, we're at this third I, and its value is 1. Next value 0, and now the value of I plus 1 is 3, which is equal to Roman numeral length, so we don't do this, and we'll say current value less than next value. Since we never set a value, it's still 0. So we skip this and we say sum plus equal current value, and then we get 3. And then I is equal to Roman num dot length. And so we skip all this over here. We go to sum. What is sum? Sum is 3. We return 3. Alrighty, let's go through the big one now. So we have M. M is the current symbol. It is the first symbol. And then the value of M, the current value, will be 1000. And then if I is less than Roman, I plus 1 is less than Roman numeral length, it is. We get the next one. It's C. C is 100. And if current value less than next value, it's not. So we just add to sum. Now we have 1000 in sum. And then we move on to the second loop of our while loop. And so we'll say I less than Roman numeral length. Yes, it is. Then we'll say current symbol is now this C right here. And we now take the next symbol, which is the M. And then we say is the current value of the current symbol less than the current value, the next value of the next symbol. And it is not, or yes it is less than the next value. So we would say M minus C, which would be 1,000 minus 100. So we get right here. Now sum is equal to sum plus next value minus current value. And next value is 1,000, current value is 100. Subtract, now we get 900. And we say increment I by 2 because we used both of these symbols. Then we move on, we go to x. X is the current symbol, the current value of x is 10. And then the next symbol is C. And C is equal to, C is equal to 100. And the current value is less than the next value. So we're going to say sum plus equals next value minus current value, which would be 100 minus 10, because C is 100, x is 10, and then we would say I plus equals 2. And so now we have 1,990. And then we move on to this last section, this IV down here. And we would do the same exact thing. We would go current symbol is equal to Roman numeral substring. We would say we have our I. Then we would go say, hey, the next symbol is V. And that's 5. I was 1. We get down here, we say sum is plus equal to the next value, which is 5, minus the current value, which is 1. We would get 4. Then we do I plus equals 2. And then we get to the end of the string. This is no longer true. We return sum. Sum was 1,000 plus 900 plus 90 plus 4. And now we have 1,994. And so if we play our examples down here, we run it, we get I in integer form is 3, LIV in integer form is 54, MCMXCIV in integer form is 1,994, and V in integer form is 5. So they all passed, fireworks shoot everywhere, woohoo! So that's all there is to it. This will be linked down below in the GitHub like usual. If you enjoyed the video, you can like, you can subscribe, do whatever you want. And I'm going to start posting the next question for next week down below in the description as well. So take a look at that if you want to try it before I post the video. And have a wonderful day. Goodbye.